The Mahabharata Sanskrit, Mahabharatama, Mahabharatam, is one of the two major Sanskrit epics of ancient India, the other being the Ramayana. It narrates the struggle between two groups of cousins in the Kurukshetra war and the fates of the Kaurava and the Pandava princes and their successors. It is written by Vyasa. Krishna Vipayana, Sanskrit, Kanapayana, Romanized. Krishnadvipayana, better known as Vyasa Vijay's, Sanskrit, Asa, Romanized, Vyasa, lit. Compiler, or Vedavyasa Vadasa, Vedavyasa, the one who classified the Vedas, is a central and revered sage portrayed in most Hindu traditions. He is traditionally regarded as the author of the Mahabharata. He is also regarded by many Hindus as the compiler of a number of significant scriptures. As a partial incarnation, Amsa Avatara of Vishnu, he is also regarded by tradition as the compiler of the mantras of the Vedas into 4 Vedas, as well as the author of the 18 Puranas and the Brahma Sutras. He is one of the 7 Chiranjeevis. The Kurukshetra war, Sanskrit, Ka. Ya, also called the Mahabharata war, is a war described in the Mahabharata, Sanskrit, Mahabharata. The conflict arose from a dynastic succession struggle between two groups of cousins, the Kauravas and the Pandavas, for the throne of Hastinapura. The war laid the foundation for the Bhagavad Gita. Date: 1000 BCE, according to archaeology. 3102 BCE, according to popular astronomical study. Location: Kurukshetra. Result: Pyrrhic victory for Pandavas and allies, overthrow of the Kauravas. Fall of Hastinapura. Abdication of the throne of Hastinapura by Dhritarashtra and ascension of Yudhishthira. Vassalage of Indraprastha to Hastinapura under Jujutsu. Succession crises in Anga, Chedi, Gandhara, Kalinga, Kosala, Madra, Magadha, Matsya, Panchala, Sindhu, Virata. Regional hegemony shift from the Kuras to the Panchalas. Territorial changes. Reunification of the Kuru states of Hastinapura and Indraprastha under the Pandavas. Restoration of Panchala lands held by Drona to the Panchala state. Truce and status quo ante bellum. Religion: Hinduism. Author: Vyasa. Language: Sanskrit. Period: circa 400 BCE c. 400 CE. Chapters: 18 Parvas. Verses: 200,000. It also contains philosophical and devotional material, such as a discussion of the 4 goals of life, or Purusartha 12.161. Among the principal works and stories in the Mahabharata are the Bhagavad Gita, the story of Damayanti, the story of Shakuntala, the story of Pururava and Urvashi, the story of Savitri and Satyavan, the story of Kacha and Devayani, the story of Rishyasringa, and an abbreviated version of the Ramayana, often considered as works in their own right. The Mahabharata is the longest epic poem known and has been described as the longest poem ever written. Its longest version consists of over 100,000 sloka, or over 200,000 individual verse lines, each shloka is a couplet, and long prose passages. At about 1.8 million words in total, the Mahabharata is roughly 10 times the length of the Iliad and the Odyssey combined, or about 4 times the length of the Ramayana. W. J. Johnson has compared the importance of the Mahabharata in the context of world civilization to that of the Bible, the Quran, the works of Homer, Greek drama, or the works of William Shakespeare. Within the Indian tradition, it is sometimes called the 5th Veda. The Adi Parva, or the Book of the Beginning, is the first of 18 books of the Mahabharata. Adi, Ada, Adi, is a Sanskrit word that means first. Adi Parva traditionally has 19 parts and 236 adhyayas, chapters. The critical edition of Adi Parva has 19 parts and 225 chapters. Adi Parva describes how the epic came to be recited by Ugrasrava Saudi to the assembled rishis at the Naimisha forest after first having been narrated at the Sarpasatra of Janamejaya by Vaishampayana at Taxila. It includes an outline of contents from the 18 books, along with the book's significance. The history of the Bharatas and the Brigas are described. The main part of the work covers the birth and early life of the princes of the Kuru kingdom and the persecution of the Pandavas by Dhritarashtra. The Adi Parva consists of 19 Upa-Parvas or parts, also referred to as little books. Each part is also called a Parva and is further subdivided into chapters, for a total of 236 chapters in Adi Parva. The following are the sub-Parvas. 1. Anukramanika Parva Chapter 1. Sauti meets the rishis led by Shaunaka in Naimisha forest. They express a desire to hear Mahabharata. He explains the stories of creation to them. He narrates the story of how the Mahabharata was written. This Parva describes the significance of Mahabharata, claims comprehensive synthesis of all human knowledge, and why it must be studied. 2. Sangraha Parva Chapter 2. Story of Samantha Panchaka. Definition of Akshauhini in an army. Outline of contents of 18 books of Mahabharata. 3. Pashya Parva Chapter 3. Story of Sarama's curse on Janamejaya, of Aruni, Upamanyu and Veda, the disciples of sage Damawa, and of Udanka, Pashya and sage Veda. 4. Palama Parva Chapters 4-12. History of the Bhargava race of men. Story of Chiyavana's birth. 5. Astika Parva Chapters 13-58. Story of the churning of the ocean. Theories on Dharma, worldly bondage and release. Story of the Sarpa Satra including Janamejaya's vow to kill all snakes, step to annihilate them with a sacrificial fire, decision to apply ahimsa non-violence to snakes and all life forms. Story of birth of Astika. Story of how Vaishampayana came to narrate the Mahabharata to Janamejaya. 6. Adavansavatarana Parva aka Anshavatarana Parva Chapters 59-64. History of Pandava and Kuru princes. Stories of Shantanu, Bhishma and Satyavati. Stories of Karna's birth, Lord Krishna's birth and of Anandamandavya. Appeal to Brahma that the gods should reincarnate to save the chaos that earth has become. 7. Sambhava Parva Chapters 65-142. Theory of life on earth and of gods. Story of Dronacharya, Kripacharya and other sages. Story of Dushyanta and Shakuntala. Story of Bharata's birth. Shakuntala goes to Dushyanta with the boy. He first refuses to remember her and their marriage but later apologizes and accepts. Bharata becomes prince. Stories of Yayati, Devayani and Sharmishtha. Stories of Yadu, Puru and the Paurava race of men. The Pandava brothers retreat into the forest, chased by Dhritarashtra. The stories the Swayamvara of Kunti, marriage of Madri and marriage of Vidura. Attempts to reconcile the conflict between Kauravas and Pandavas. 8. Jachagriya Parva aka Jachagriya Daha Parva Chapters 143-153. Kanika counsels Dhritarashtra on how to rule a kingdom and on how deception is an effective tool for governance and war, against enemies and potential competition. Kanika narrates his symbolic tale about jackal, tiger, mouse, mongoose and deer and he advises that a weak ruler should ignore his own weaknesses and focus on other people's weakness and pretend to be friends while being cruel and destructive to others, particularly when the competition is good and stronger. Dhritarashtra schemes to build a home for Pandavas in the forest, from lacquer and other inflammable materials as a friendly gesture, but with plans to burn them alive on the darkest night. Kanika's theory is called wicked and evil by Vidura, a sage of true knowledge and the good, who is also the advisor and friend to Pandavas. Vidura and Pandavas plan escape by building a tunnel inside the inflammable house. The fire is lit and the Pandavas escape. Dhritarashtra falsely believes Pandavas are dead. Duryodhana is pleased and sets on ruling the kingdom. 9. Hidamba Vada Parva Chapters 154-158. The story of the wanderings of Pandava brothers after the escape from the fire. Story of Bhima and the Rakshashi Hidamba. She falls in love with Bhima and refuses to help her brother. The story of the battle between Bhima and Hidamba's demon brother, Hidambasur, showing the Enormous strength of the giant brother Bhima. Bhima and Hidamba have a son named Ghatotkacha. 10. Bhagavata Parva aka Bhagavata Parva chapters, 159 to 166. The life of Pandava's brothers in Ekachakra. Story about Bhima slaying another demon Bakasura, who has been terrorizing people of Ekachakra. Heroine of Mahabharata, Draupadi, is born in holy fire. Word spreads that the Pandavas may be alive. 11. Chaitraratha Parva chapters, 167 to 185. Pandavas set out for Panchala. Arjuna fights with a Gandharva. Stories of Tapati and the conflict between Vashistha and Vishwamitra. Stories of Kalmashapada, Parashara and Orva. Dehumanization and persecution of Bhargava race of men. 12. Swayamvara Parva chapters, 186 to 194. The Pandavas arrive in Panchala. Draupadi's Swayamvara. The Pandavas arrive at the Swayamvara in disguise of Brahmanas. Arjuna excels in the Swayamvara and wins Draupadi's heart and hand. Krishna recognizes the individuals in disguise as the Pandava brothers. The suitors object the marriage of Draupadi and Arjuna, a fight ensues. Bhima and Arjuna defeat all the suitors and then takes Draupadi to their cottage. Kunti, thinking Draupadi is alms, commands her to be shared by the 5 brothers. Drishtadyumna gets to know the true identity of Pandavas. 13. Vaivahika Parva chapters, 195 to 201. Drupada is delighted at discovering that the Pandavas are alive. The Pandavas come to Drupada's palace. The story of Draupadi's previous lives and Indra punished by Shiva. The marriage of Draupadi with the Pandavas. 14. Vijuragamana Parva chapters, 202 to 209. Vijura's attempt to reconcile the evil Kaurava brothers and the good Pandava brothers. Various speeches by Karna, Bhishma, Drona and Vijura. Pandavas return to Hastinapur with the blessings of Krishna. The construction of the city Indraprastha. 15. Raja Labha Parva chapters, 210 to 214. Story of Sunda and Upasunda and of Narada. 16. Arjuna Vanavasa Parva chapters, 215 to 220. Arjuna violates Dharma. He accepts voluntary exile. Arjuna marries Ulupi and Chitrangada, and rescues Apsaras. Story highlights his special powers and competence. Arjuna and Krishna become close friends. Arjuna goes to Dwarka, lives with Krishna. 17. Subhadra Harana Parva chapters, 221 to 222. Arjuna falls in love with and takes away Subhadra, Krishna's sister. The upset Varishnis prepare war with Arjuna, but finally desist. 18. Harana Harana Parva aka Harana Harika Parva chapter, 223. Arjuna returns from exile, with Subhadra. They marry. Their son Abhimanyu is born. Story of the Upapandavas, the 5 sons of Draupadi. 19. Khandava Daha Parva chapters, 224 to 236. The reign of Yudhishthira. Krishna and Arjuna go to the banks of Yamuna, where they meet Agni, disguised as a Brahmin, who demands to consume the Khandava forest, to cure his digestive ailment. Stories of Swetaki, and Agni. Agni gives Arjuna the Gandiva bow and the ape-bannered chariot, while Krishna receives the discus. Agni starts consuming the forest when Indra and other deities obstruct. The fight of Krishna and Arjuna with celestials, their combined abilities, and their victory. Story of Aswasena, son of Takshaka, Mandapala and his 4 bird sons. Maya rescued by Arjuna. Anukramanika Parva, Chapter 1. Time creates all things. And time destroys them all. Time burns all creatures. And time again extinguishes that fire. Anukramanika Parva, Adi Parva, Mahabharata Book I.1. Tapa is not a sin. Study is not a sin. Ordinances of Vedas are not sins. Acquisition of wealth by exertion is not a sin. When they are abused, then do they become the sources of evil. Anukramanika Parva, Adi Parva, Mahabharata Book I.1. Sangraha Parva, Chapter 2. As all the senses are dependent on the wonderful workings of the mind, so all the acts and moral qualities depend on this treatise Mahabharata. Sangraha Parva, Adi Parva, Mahabharata Book I2. Pashya Parva, Chapter 3. You are the infinite, you are the course of nature, and intelligent soul that pervades all. I desire to obtain you through knowledge, derived from hearing and meditation. Pashya Parva, Adi Parva, Mahabharata Book I.3. Adavansabhadarana Parva, Chapter 62. This Mahabharata is equal to the Vedas, it is holy and excellent. It is the worthiest of all that should be listened to. It is a Purana, adored by the rishis. It contains many useful instructions on Artha and Kama. This sacred history makes the heart desire to attain salvation. Adavansabhadarana Parva, Adi Parva, Mahabharata Book I.62.